All right, welcome everyone to the Influencer Series here on BiggerPockets. I'm your host, Brandon Turner today. This is the series where we interview influential authors, speakers, CEOs, and other thought leaders in the business world, just kind of to figure out how to achieve greater levels of success, both in life and in business. So I'm super pumped today because I'm interviewing a good friend of mine, Josh Long. Or do you like Joshua better? What do you like?
Josh is good.
All right, we're going to go with Josh. Josh Long, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man.
Good. Well, this is going to be fun today because you recently wrote a book, and so we're going to talk about that obviously today. But before we even get into that, I want to know a little bit about you and introduce you to the audience so they can kind of hear your background. So let me just start at the beginning. I mean, who are you? Where'd you come from? What's your favorite color? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm a consultant now, business growth consultant focused on marketing and management for B2B small businesses, ranging from 5 million to 50 million in revenue. I got my start in entrepreneurship with in an MBA program. Had a software venture I tried to start back in the day, cut my teeth on that, jumped into the mortgage business with half of the rest of California when the market was taken off. That went down in a ball of flames, and before that went down, I got connected with a guy named Dan Kennedy, who's a great marketing copywriter guy that learned a lot from, and then went to work for a guy named Chet Holmes, who gave me a big leg up on my career path, and became his marketing director for his company with Tony Robbins, and then went out on my own and have been slugging it out since.
Nice. Now, Chet wrote that book, what was it called? The Blueprint something or another?
The Ultimate Sales Machine.
Yeah, that's what it is. Ultimate Sales. Yeah, I love that book. That was one of my favorite business books. So that's very cool.
That's why I worked for him. I really enjoyed it. It was clear to the point. He like Dan Kennedy was very much focused on execution, implementation, real world stuff that works. And like Chet's Dream 100 strategy of find your 100 best prospects and just go after them ruthlessly, as he would say, with pig-headed discipline and determination, is very effective. It's simple, but it works, and it can work in a lot of different industries. And like for you guys with BiggerPockets and going after properties, not getting into all of your details now, but there's properties that you have to identify and go after. Yep. And there's clear winners and clear ones that have upside that if you are disciplined about pursuit of them, you can make deals happen.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, I've heard of people using that exact strategy in their real estate business where they they know the area they want to buy in. They go out and pick 100, like for example, 100 apartment complexes or 100 duplexes. And then they just know, I mean, in a way, I'm kind of doing that right now with mobile home parks. I'm saying, hey, I'm going to get a list of like 100. If I just kept on this every year, like 1 in 7 people sell their properties. So, if every year I just kept on them, eventually I'm going to get them. So
yeah, that's 13 or 14 properties on that list of 100 turning over every year.
Yep.
Another one that a friend of mine is a real estate broker, and he got to know a really tight zip code back when we were working together. And they weren't big homes, they weren't fancy homes, but he knew that zip code really, really well, and became the 7th highest grossing agent in Central California out of 4,000 plus, and he had one assistant. Wow. And it was just, he knew that market really, really well and dominated it and could market to it well. So I think that gets into the niche side of things, niche specialization, but Chet's Dream 100 was a really practical item that a lot of companies have benefited from.
That's awesome. So let's move into, a little bit about your big push today, this Bottleneck Breakthrough. I know you and I have talked a lot about this, and you've helped me a lot in my own investing and my own life. This idea, can you explain what does that mean? What is a Bottleneck Breakthrough, and where did the idea for the book come from?
Yeah, so a bottleneck is simply, in my opinion, a point of friction that's preventing something from moving through. So in classic manufacturing perspectives, it's a restriction point in the manufacturing. It becomes the limiting factor. So like a bottleneck in a soda bottle or a beer bottle, it's the smallest point where fluid can flow through. So I just found that when clients would submit to letting me just ask questions, and they didn't come to me and say, we need XYZ or we need ABC, some predetermined thing they wanted from me. But when they just laid their business bare and I could ask questions, I started honing in on key friction points and then started seeing patterns with revenue plateaus. I saw this when I was working with Chet. We did a lot of deals, a lot of consulting. Had a lot of calls with prospects, and I started seeing patterns develop. at various revenue plateaus, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, 100 million, so on. And then started connecting the dots when I'd look at companies and started seeing patterns that, oh, these are very common bottlenecks. And then the term bottlenecks was just this very simple term that business owners grabbed onto, and it made execution a lot easier. So the goal of Bottleneck Breakthrough, the Bottleneck Breakthrough method, is to find and fix your top bottleneck, your top business challenge that you're facing at the current revenue plateau that you're at, to fix it. Because when you fix that bottleneck, you blast past that revenue plateau to the next plateau of growth. And it just works over and over and over every time I do it with clients. So that's the premise of it.
So when you say was it revenue plateau, right? So I feel like all my life I've always kind of considered, up until talking with you about this, I've always kind of considered growth to be, more or less just kind of you're growing upward. But would you say, like, it seems like more like you go up and then you level off? Is that what you're talking about, revenue plateau? You go up, level off,
yeah,
up, level off.
Exactly. And the easiest example is looking at stock prices, right? There's stock prices have other factors of chaos in the market and investor confidence and all that. But there's no stock that goes from 0 to $8 million a share in a straight line. Yeah. It goes up, it consolidates, it bounces between a range. If you get into technical trading, there's floors and ceilings that a stock will trade within. And it's not until it breaks past that ceiling of resistance that then that ceiling becomes the floor, in theory. And it's very similar in business as well, that you grow and your business changes as you hit different revenue plateaus, revenue milestones. So when you're just starting out and you might have one assistant or a freelancer, you're doing everything. So it's easy for you to make decisions in your head for the most part, because you don't have to check with anybody. You don't have to check in on follow through with anything. Then you get 3 or 4 or 5 people on your team. You're running about $500,000, and everybody's kind of all hands on deck. But to go past that $500,000, you start have to defining roles and giving clear responsibilities to people. Otherwise, it's, oh, I thought she had it, I thought he had it. Assumptions of finger pointing and the stuff falling through the cracks. So it's just the evolution of the business organism brings different challenges at each revenue plateau.
Okay. And why do you think so many business owners, I mean, myself included in here, like, why do we struggle getting through those bottlenecks? Like, why do we trap ourselves in them for so long when really all it takes is a couple, some questions like, what's really holding you back? Like, why is it that we struggle with that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing most business owners are just busy at capacity every day. And I think Tim Ferriss was the first to point it out to us that busyness is a sign of lazy thinking, lack of prioritization. And so it's also that business owners, because they created their baby from scratch and they know everything about it, it's easy to find significance being involved in everything, having your hands in every pot and having your fingers touch every little detail. So it can feel disconcerting when you start letting go of complete control of parts of your company. And then I think the bigger issue at the end of the day is business owners aren't taught how to analyze, assess, inspect, test, track, monitor changes, and to take the time to actually inspect something, to then assess where it might have inefficiencies, and then, okay, now we're going to get into implementing, changing it, and we're going to stick with implementing, changing it, because we're now fighting the inertia of, well, that's the way it's always been done, and the staff that keep doing the same thing over and over because that's their routine. So there's a lot of inertia, that flywheel effect to overcome.
Yeah, that makes sense. So in the book here, I got it in front of me right here. So, all right. So you talk about these levers in here. I want to go into that a little bit.
Let me open up to the flip to the back cover. It's in color.
Yeah, there. Nice. Okay. So in the back, you've got these 6 levers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we got strategy, marketing, management, systems, vision, mindset. Can you explain what does that mean? What are the 6 levers of growth? And can you kind of just talk about as a whole, and then maybe we'll dive into a few of them individually.
Yeah. So it's just a way of organizing the factors that make a difference in a business. And so everybody comes to me for marketing. They think they have a marketing problem. Most commonly, they think they need more leads. That's the siren song of small business owners, is that they need more leads. And so that's where I start a lot of times. But as I look throughout the business, I find, oh, well, there's these other areas that actually have bigger bottlenecks that if we solve those, it makes everything else more efficient. And so over time, I'd start with marketing and then I'd move to systems. And so it was always this 1-2 punch of marketing and systems, because you use marketing to grow a company, but you use systems to sustain and consolidate that growth. And so if you look at the levers in between marketing and systems is a key one called management. Now that's a 4-letter word for most business owners because they equate it to bureaucracy, right? I mean, they think, oh, that's middle management, that's waste, that's inefficiency. But the reality is management is just the supporting and equipping of staff to be able to do their job. And so as I started going around and around with clients, then we've got marketing and systems hand in hand, but then the ultimate limiting factor is mindset. And that's the one at the top. And it's because every company grows to either the capacity of its marketplace or the mindset limitations of the owner. They just stop getting better. They stop developing themselves to continue leading the organization. So those 3, marketing, systems, and mindset, are really the core. Management's a really big requirement. So then the 5th leg really is strategy. And that's what we start with because it goes over positioning, goes over testimonials, endorsements, the process of optimizing your business, tracking, reporting. That if that foundational piece isn't in place, none of the other stuff happens. So then the final lever is vision of what's the goal, because like the Cheshire Cat with Alice in Wonderland, when she was asking him directions and he says, well, where do you want to go? She says, I don't know. Then he says, well, it doesn't really matter which path you take. Yep. So if we don't have the goal of why you have this business, and there's really only 3 reasons to own a business: to grow it, to sell it, to grow it, to turn it into a cash cow, or to grow it to pass on to your kids. And so if we don't have that goal defined, then all of the other decisions don't really matter. They take you to a path that may not give you what you really want in the end. So those are the levers. I
want to dig into that a little bit because that's kind of fascinating. I never thought of that. Like, only 3 reasons to own a business are to grow it and sell it, grow it for cash flow or, a monthly income, or pass on to your kids. So, and I think that's
because otherwise you have a job.
Yes. Yeah.
And as all small business owners will tell you, if you only own a job, you can have a lot better income with a lot less stress taking a job with a bigger established company.
Yep. Yeah, that's very true. So, let's talk to the real estate investors listening to this right now. Obviously, BiggerPockets is mostly about real estate investing. So, the guy is sitting here going, I just want to buy, I bought one property, we'll say. Maybe they turn their old house into a rental or whatever, but they just want to build a business. They want to eventually get out of their job. And so maybe they're deciding that they want, the 2 and 3. They want to get the cash flow every month and then someday pass on to their kids. So now that helps them define where they go. How do we use the Bottleneck Breakthrough to help this guy with one rental property get to that financial freedom level he wants?
Right. And so real estate brings in a lot of different factors that are uncommon to most businesses, because you are acquiring assets that have long-term income potential, asset value, which is the ultimate goal. Like, if we go back to, you build a business to sell it, yep, or you build it to become a cash cow, or you pass it on to your kids. In the first one, you're building it to sell it to get a pile of cash to put it into some long-term asset that produces ongoing cash flow. That's financial freedom, right?
Yeah.
And so real estate bypasses that need to get a giant pile of cash because you're acquiring long-term assets. And so in business, my wealth philosophy is grow a business to produce as much short-term income as possible, or get that big pile of cash.
Yeah.
But short-term income so that you're extracting as much cash out of it to put into long-term assets. And for me, I believe in real estate as well. It's the most proven long-term asset in the history of the world, yeah, and with the least volatility. So by bypassing that need for a big windfall of cash, you're already moving into long-term wealth creation. So again, there's two paths in real estate investing, right? There's fix and flip, which produces the cash, short-term cash flow to then eventually buy long-term assets, or there's buy and hold. And so with the buy and hold strategy, you've got to find the cash to start it. So it's almost like the business of real estate investing becomes phase two of what my clients deal with, of growing their business to turn into a cash cow or be acquired. So back to your question about bottlenecks in the investment business model. First, you got to figure out your goal of, okay, we're going to take the buy and hold method and just do the Warren Buffett, right? Keep them forever, never sell anything. So then where does that initial catalyst of cash flow come from? Well, if you're not independently wealthy and you could just go buy 80 units at once, now you've got to figure out some other income source that offsets or supports it, merges well with the investment business model. A lot of people, like you and I both know, that that you use the fix and flip to generate the cash flow for the buy and hold. And so then, and out of the fix and flip, you can cherry pick the great long-term buy and hold properties. So then it becomes the business model of sourcing and negotiating all the rehabs that you need to do. So it's just marching through that logic of what's the goal, what are your business model options. In real estate, it always comes down to where's the cash going to come from, because that's the limiting factor in all real estate deals 100% of the time, unless you're a real estate investment trust with billions of dollars, or you're an insurance company with trillions of dollars that is just laying around and you just go buy whatever's in front of you. So I don't think any of those people are listening to us right now.
Probably not. Yeah, I like that. I like that line of thinking. Like when you, especially if you're just starting out, you got to know where the cash is coming from. So just by asking that question, going, let me backtrack a second. So people will say, oh, I want to get into real estate, but they never really take it any further than that. Or I want to go buy a bunch of rental properties. Well, by asking the question, well, what do you need to get there? What is my strategy? That will help you define what kind of properties you buy, just like you said. And then, where's my vision headed? And then, okay, if money's the next thing, how do I get that money? Is that the bottleneck that is stopping me right now, is the money? And so I'm going to go out and pursue that. And that might be, I don't know, reading a book or going to some meetups.
Well, and I think there's really three main parts, and every business really can be broken down to three main levers. They're all slightly different for each business model, but for real estate investing, it's where's the money come from? Where are the deals sourced? Because we're not going to just go troll the MLS and make full price offers, right? That's not going to work. And then the management, whether it's the rehab or the ongoing. And so when you break down the business into those three areas, you go through them. Where's my biggest point of friction? What's stopping me from proceeding forward? And you may think that's, I don't have the money. But tell me if I'm wrong. I find that when you have great deal flow, you can attract the money a lot easier.
Yeah, it's so true. And so people think that their problem, and I get this all the time, they think their problem is, they don't have the money. And that's what people like to use. I tend to think that people use that more as an excuse than anything else, because it makes them not have to go take action. But
finding deals, sifting through deals is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
I mean, you've done it a lot more than I have. I've done it over the years, but that's a lot of work. That's driving and door knocking, and that's mailers, and that's follow-up phone calls, and that's going to the county recorder's office and pulling title records and all that stuff, right? I mean, ownership records and tracking down where the owner's actually at. And surprise, surprise, owners in distress change their cell phone a lot, and they don't answer their phone, and their mailing address is constantly changing. So that's the behavior, the lead source that needs to be solved for that one of those three legs for that business model to work.
Yeah, I would 100% agree, 1,000% agree with that. I mean, if you want to grow your real estate investing business, whether it's fix and flip or you're trying to find deals for buy and hold, whatever, like the ultimate lever is going to be, how do I find deals and how do I get? If you can just get really good at that, everything else becomes much more simple and easy in your life. If you're just consistently getting great leads coming in, everything is significantly easier. So yeah, I would just recommend people like figure that out. How do you get leads? Well, there's a million blog posts all over the internet, a lot of them on BiggerPockets. There's
no
podcasts.
shortage.
Yeah, they're everywhere, right?
And the thing that I find is it's like any marketing strategy for small business. They all work if you stick with them and work through the details. I don't know how many times it's happened. It's been a long time since it's happened, but early on in my career, business owners would say, "Oh, AdWords doesn't work for us." And I'm like, how is that possible? I mean, they're getting 40 billion a year in ad spend now in every industry under the sun. So it just didn't work because you didn't stick it out or you had a piece wrong. There's a lot of variables in all of these lead gen sources, lead gen or traffic pillars, as I call them. And it's sticking with them and working them out.
Which then comes full circle back to if lead gen is your one thing, I mean, and you're not getting good leads, for example, go back to real estate, you're not getting good deals coming in. Okay, well, you can shut down.
You have no business.
Yeah,
you have no business
nothing.
At that point.
You can't do anything. So you've got to figure that out. That is your break. So then you ask yourself, well, how do I get the leads? Where is the bottleneck in that business of getting leads? Because we can get smaller and smaller,
Well, and I go through that in chapter 5, talking about traffic pillars and go through fundamentals of marketing, persuasion, conversion, and give questions to ask. How do you get in front of your ideal client profile? And for real estate, how do you find the motivated sellers, right? And or the ones that are even willing to sell. Because you can chase a lot of homes and properties that aren't for sale and nobody's going to sell them. Or you have unreasonable buyers or sellers, that think that for whatever reason, their property is unique. You've never heard that, right?
Never.
Oh, this property is so unique. There's no comps that really support what this is worth, right? I mean, how often do we hear that when we're looking at deals? So I think so chapter 5 really walks through the questions around developing a traffic pillar.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, so but before we leave, I want to talk to you a little about management as well, because this is an area that I struggle a lot with. I can go out and find deals and I can go out and find the financing. I'm pretty good at that. But when it comes to actually managing people and contractors and property managers and all that stuff, I just get overwhelmed and I tend to just shut down and just not talk to people for a long time. I'm like, I'm just going to close my eyes and pray that they do a good job.
That's because your disc profile, you don't have a high C on the disc profile.
This is true. So,
and neither do I. So I'm not pointing any fingers.
So how do we get better at management? I mean, what are those levers in management that helps me become a better manager of my company?
Yeah. So every small business owner struggles with this 100% of the time. They're not structured. They don't like routine. They're visionary. They like change. They like variety. And so the single best hack I've ever found is the weekly management meeting. It just has to happen. It has to be done with whoever you're managing. 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. And in the book, I give an outline of a framework for that meeting. Go over what didn't they get done last week? Why didn't they get it done? What do they need to get it done? And what are they going to get done next week? And so that rigor of weekly check-in and weekly accountability, managing by agreements with whoever you're managing.
Managing by agreements, what does that mean?
Yeah, so great question. So managing by agreements is when the person you're managing and you go over their priority list and they agree to say, okay, yes, I'm going to get this, and this done in the next week. They're agreeing to your expectations that you're communicating to them. And so the next week, you can either have results or excuses. You can't have both, right? And so if you go week in and week out, and all they've got is more and more excuses, and you're checking in every week, and you've got this document that's going over what they did or did not get done that they said they were going to get done, it makes discipline, it makes reframing, reassigning, demoting, all of that so much easier because now you've got this simple little trail. Gosh, the last 3 weeks, Brandon, you said you were going to get this front door lock changed on this property that's sitting vacant, that's getting vandalized. And now it's cost me an extra $1,000 in repairs because knuckleheads got in through the front door because you didn't change the lock. I can't have you be my maintenance guy anymore because of this. It becomes a lot easier to confront. I have a whole chapter on confrontation in management, chapter 9, because I find that confrontation is a required skill in all leadership of business.
Yep.
And so the weekly management meeting is the de facto solution. It's a pain. It feels constricting. It feels suffocating at sometimes to have that on your calendar every week. But I guarantee when you do it, 95% of your management headaches go away.
I love that. Yeah, I'm going to start implementing that right now, because right now it's kind of like I call the people that, work with me or under me, however you want to call it. Like I tend to call them when I have a problem or I need something, or they call me when
you're up at night worrying about it.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's like, if I can just set that, I mean, why not put it on my own schedule and my own calendar instead of on the fly whenever I'm desperate for something. Like I might as well just schedule it. It's happening anyway.
And when it's on the fly,
yeah,
people find a way to hide. They find a way to avoid, to keep kicking the can down the road. And that's where you end up 6 months later. Why wasn't this done? Or, oh my gosh, you ruined this part of the deal.
Yep.
When weekly quick oversight management inspection would have done it. And I mean, there's project management software out there. I mean, we've used all of it. But for me, I find seriously 8.5 by 11 sheet with four categories in it, four boxes to just write notes in, keep a folder with every person's, for each person that's a direct report. It just solves that management headache.
I love that. Cool. I'm going to do it. All right. Well, this has been good. So obviously, if people want to know more, they can obviously pick up your book. Before we get to where they can get it, what can you tell? Like, who is this book ideally for? And then go ahead and tell us, where can they pick up the book?
Yeah, it's really for business owners, people that are in charge of a lot of things that ultimately the responsibility is on them to get things done and grow their company. And so managers, executives and companies are going to get a lot of value out of it. Frontline employees, probably not. Self-employed people, definitely. There's going to be a lot of things in there that are going to show you shortcuts to shore up areas that are holding you back or that are taking an inordinate amount of time. So I'm all about implementation and optimization and having whatever you fix stick, be sustainable. So I'm not a fan of quick hacks that work for the short term but fall apart shortly thereafter. So it was really written for business owners that I work with day in and day out.
Very cool. Very cool. Where can people get it from? Amazon?
Amazon,
all right.
Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Nook, iBooks. Google doesn't allow authors in anymore. So Google Books is
who needs Google?
Yeah, it's digital. It's also hardcover. If you buy the hardcover, you get the digital version for free through Amazon. I didn't find a way to do that on Barnes & Noble and Nook, but anyway. And I've got a ton of great resources listed throughout the book. I've got a members site for free with all the resources there, so you can go and download them, reference them, share them with your team, print them out. So everything I've just talked about is available there as part of the resources section of the book.
Very cool. All right. Well, I like it. I'm going to finish reading it. I'm halfway through it right now, so I haven't finished it yet, but I'm going to do it because everything so far I've read is fantastic.
Big thanks to you, because you were the big brother I needed that had written a number of books before I got started. So thanks so much for your help.
No problem. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Avoided a lot of minefields.
Oh, good.
Because of your input.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm super jealous because I look at your book and it turned out so nice and I don't know, everything's good. I mean, not that my book's anything bad, but you got the hard cover and you got the nice. I don't know. I like it. It's a very, very good book. So.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Josh, for joining us. And if people want to connect with you outside of the book, where can they? On social media, all that.
Yeah, social media: Facebook, LinkedIn. Bottleneckbreakthrough.com. There's great resources of book on the book page. So bottleneckbreakthrough.com/book goes over all the details of everything I'm giving away if they buy it before November 10th. And I'm happy to connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you around, Josh.